morning, everyone. I hope this finds you well and living your best life in Jesus Christ. I don't suppose that it will be a shock to anybody when I say that the entire world seems to be looking for happiness. Go to a bookstore, well, if you can find one these days, or look online and you will find literally thousands of books on finding true happiness or finding happiness with your inner self. And there are more being published every day. I suppose if you really want to make a living as an author in this day and age, you tell people how to be happy. Of course, the corollary of that thought is that evidently there are a lot of unhappy folks out there looking for whatever they think is the secret to happiness, and that's really kind of sad. Me personally, I would rather find joy in my life than happiness. You see, happiness is contingent on circumstances. It's temporary. You can't be happy and stay happy because life will keep coming at you, doing everything it can to steal that happiness away. No, I'd much rather find joy in my life than happiness. I don't want the temporary happiness of the world when I can have the permanent joy of living for Christ. Did you know that joy is really a pretty big topic in the Bible? Simply put, God wants his children to be joy-filled, just like a father wants his child to laugh with glee. God longs for us to experience a deep-seated, deeply rooted joy. Peter referred to this joy in 1 Peter 1, 8 and 9. He said, "Though you have not seen him, you love him, and even though you do not see me now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy, for you are receiving the end result of your faith, the salvation of your souls." The source of their joy, and frankly ours, is Jesus. Since no one can take Jesus from us, no one can take our joy. But the truth is that sometimes in our lives, joy seems to be in short supply. In the last few weeks, I've counseled several people who are in danger of what we would call losing their joy. One lady is dealing with a very serious, possibly terminal health problem. Another has lost her job and her home. A gentleman I've been talking to just buried his wife a few weeks ago, and another lady, her husband. They're struggling with varying stages of losing their joy, and I understand, because I lost my joy when I lost my son. It took me many weeks of prayer and fasting, study, and working through the grief to regain my joy. So today I'm going to ask you a question. What about you? Are you struggling with something right now that threatens your joy? What's been taken away from you? Your health? Your house? Your job? Have you buried a dream? Have you buried a marriage? Buried a child? As you look at these burial plots of life, is your joy buried there too? Have you allowed worry and fear to steal your joy? If so, you may have temporarily substituted true courageous joy for what Max Lucado calls contingent joy. He says this: contingent joy is always dependent upon a circumstance. Contingent joy says, I'll be happy when, or I'll be happy if. I'll be happy when I have a new house, or a new job, or a new spouse. I'll be happy when I'm healed, or when I'm home. Contingent joy depends on the right circumstance. Since we cannot control every circumstance, we set ourselves up for disappointment. And he's right. The search for happiness, or contingent joy as he calls it, instead of true joy through Christ, will always leave us disappointed and angry and bitter and sour and fearful. Instead, we need to find true, genuine, courageous joy for our lives to sustain us. See, courageous joy turns us into stronger people. Courageous joy sets the hope of the heart on Jesus and Jesus alone. Since no one can take our Christ, no one can take our joy. I mean, think about it. Can death take your joy? Nah, because Jesus is greater than death. Can failure take your joy? Nope, because Jesus is greater than any failure or even our very sin. Can betrayal take your joy? No, because Jesus will never leave us. Can sickness take your joy? No, because God has promised, whether on this side of the grave or the other, he will heal us. Can disappointment take your joy? No, because even though my plan may not work out, I know God's plan will. Death, failure, betrayal, sickness, and disappointment can't take our joy because they can't take our Jesus. In John 16:22, Jesus tells us that, so with you now. So with you. Now is the time of grief. But I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy. I tell everyone who will listen that I have more joy in my life than I've ever had in my whole life. Not happiness, mind you. Joy, not joy based on whatever happens from day to day, but real, permanent, courageous, contagious joy through Jesus Christ. There are a lot of times every day when I'm not happy, but thank the Lord, I am always joyful. So today, if you're struggling with finding happiness, stop. Just stop. Stop looking for temporary fixes to a permanent need. Ask God, Lord, what is separating me from your genuine joy? Ask Him to replace your need for happiness or contingent joy with courageous joy. Ask Him to help you anchor your life to His solid rock. Ask Him to show you the joy that cannot be taken. Trust me, He will. He will stir a revival of true, courageous, contagious, continual joy in your heart. I know. He did it for me. And let me tell you something. No self-help book you ever read will accomplish that. I hope you make today a terrific day. I want you to know that I'm here if you need me. And I love you all.